So I've titled this The Art of the Argument because that's how it sounds like in our head, and I want to help you guys win the argument. And the argument could be about money, it could be about direction, it could be all these things. The number one question I always get with people is, how do you convince the clients to go in a particular creative direction? Sound kind of familiar? Or why do clients have such bad taste? How do I convince? And so the word convince means, or seems to me to imply that you're moving them from their point to your point, and it's a lot of friction. I want to teach you a different way of doing this, okay? So that's where you can find me. You can find us on YouTube. I think we have almost 100 videos now, and we talk about the business of design. So if something turns you on here, everything I'm saying will be up there in detail in a number of videos, okay? So let's jump into it. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things: determining value, understanding the client dynamic, and overcoming objections in the sales cycle. In any sales cycle, there are going to be objections that the client's going to have, meaning they're going to say something negative about you. What I want you to do is think about, if you've ever been in a situation working with a client, what are the top objections that you've heard? So here are the most common objections that I've seen. You're too expensive. It's probably the number one. How do I know this? Because I've heard it myself many, many times. We're often too expensive. You don't have enough experience. All right, somebody brought that up, skill. You called it skill. Somebody else reframed it as experience. And you don't know enough about blah. Whatever it is, fill it in. E-commerce websites for dogs, right? Microbiotic cuisine, whatever it is, you don't know all that stuff. So it's tough. So the question is, how do you respond to this, right? I'm going to tell you right now through my experience, the three most common objections are: you're too expensive, you don't have enough experience, and you don't know enough about blah. So what I want to do now is I want you to share some of your best responses to the three objections. You're too expensive.
You're poor.
You're poor. Okay, I love that. I love it. You're too expensive, you're poor. I'm like, okay.
Get out of the boat.
All right, I'm out.
Can't afford the insurance.
I'm out. Done. Okay, you get what you pay for. Cautionary tales from newly graduated Art Center students. The value of our experience has no monetary value, except for you pay us $1,000, then that's the monetary value. It's pretty clear because you just gave them a bid and it's like, there's no value. Oh, you mean like this value? Right, so they win that argument. All right, anybody else? Somebody else have a good response, and then I'm going to go to the pros. Let's see what the pros are. Okay, go ahead.
So I was thinking, like, if you offer them a higher price and they say you're too expensive, and say like, oh, okay, but for you, I'll do this.
Just for you.
And you offer them your actual price.
I like your smile, just for you. You know, I can bring it down. What are we talking about, 20%? Yeah. You're amenable, and you use a pricing strategy. So you artificially inflate the price a little bit, knowing that there's some wiggle room to go down, right? That's a good strategy. Okay, anybody else? Somebody else back there, yes?
I was going to say, think of it more of an investment, because my goal is to make you money. And if I don't make you money, then I can't keep charging this obnoxiously high rate.
Damn, that's pretty good. You're going to ruin this whole talk. Don't pay attention to what I'm talking about. Come on. All right, pros.
So he had a really interesting approach, and he said what he did is he wanted to shift the discussion away from actual cost, like a monetary amount, and he shifted it to value.
How?
So he would start the conversation with, okay, this is expensive, but what is the value of this piece of design that I'm going to build for you? If it solves all of your problems, right? If it's a website and it's a cornerstone for your market, you can engage and build a tribe, et cetera, et cetera. If all of those pieces deliver on expectation,
Yeah.
what would that impact to your business be?
Right.
Would it be the cost of what I'm building for you, or would it be much larger?
Nice. That's a good answer. The gray hairs have value. You see that?
Clients are coming to you because they want to make money. So if you can shift like what you're doing as a value to help them make money, and if they can see the ROI on the investment, then that becomes just a nominal fee.
Okay, you guys know ROI. I already said return on investment. It's a financial term, okay? Great, very good. Let's move down to the next one. You don't have enough experience. Pro team, make sure you get them. Zoom in on these dudes. I know it's gonna be good, Andrew. These guys are great. Go ahead, pro team. F you, is that the answer?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
You don't have enough experience, so just talk to me like a client. You don't have
Okay.
enough experience. What's your name?
Austin,
Austin, you don't have enough experience.
we give you the tools you need.
It's like, I am America and so can you, right? I like the way you do things, Austin. But you know what? Austin could get away with a lot of stuff because he's got a lot of charm. He's a charming mofo, isn't he? This guy's got a big smile. It's like, all right, thanks. I get the tools. Good for you. You know, so it's not even about the work, actually. I bet you he can win some clients. Now, pro team, all stars. Nothing from Nick this time. All stars. Just lay it on me, Eddie. You don't have enough experience.
I have two answers.
Neither do you.
He's consistent with his strategy, isn't he? Pro team is like always F you. I like it. Go on. What else?
And the other one, our politically correct one, was my work ethic allows me to overcome experience issues. I don't know, but I still like my first one.
First he said he has no value, and now he's like, I work so hard that I can overcome any factors and gaps of experience? All right. All right.
Okay, but what about like, but like, you should be paying for like the newest, hottest shit. I didn't write that down, but like, I just,
I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. Say that again.
like you
You
should,
want the newest, hottest S.
like stuff, yeah.
You want the newest, hottest stuff, and that's me. Is that what you're saying?
You don't want like. the old-
Whoever said art center students have an attitude, you know what I mean? Anybody else before we, okay, go ahead.
But that, even though I don't have much experience, that means I have fresh ideas.
Okay, I don't have a lot of experience. We'd like to repackage that and call it fresh ideas. That's called marketing or spin. I like that. Okay, up here, and then we'll go back to Will. Okay, William, you don't have enough experience, but you're like, but I'm cheaper. Oh my gosh. You see that curve? Remember how like we're not gonna make money over time? Because Will's gonna come out, it's like, he's like $10, 8. 8. He's good. For nothing. Okay, Will, in the back.
Okay, so my response is clearly your business doesn't have enough experience.
Oh, you're with Team Pro. I love those. No, these are the best responses. And Nick Hoffermas is going to have a good time with this one. Okay. All right. And so, all right, go ahead, Nick. Ruin it.
I was gonna say I offer a fresh perspective, but you also don't want to, you don't want to just keep repeating what everyone's been doing for years. So you don't want experience.
I don't like you. I don't like you at all. You. All right, very good. What term are you? Call me when you graduate. Okay, so let's go on number 3. Number 3, you don't have enough expertise, domain expertise in whatever. All right? I love the pro group. The pro group is going to make my day. Nick will ruin it, but you guys are going to do a great job. Go ahead, pro.
I feel like we can give Nick a run for his money.
Awesome. Well, this one you got. This one you got in the back.
Because we're serious. Okay, so give us a blank, we'll fill it.
Okay, let's play this out. Terry, these are wonderful students. You don't have enough experience building digital broccoli websites. Give us the digital broccoli website. We'll fill it, and so can you. These tools.
We'll give you the tools.
We'll give you the
To
tools
fill your broccoli
to
website.
fill your digital broccoli blank. Booyah. Done.
You're like, Mr. Jones, when can I expect the check? Yeah, anybody else? William, what are you going to say to that?
I'll say open up to more perspective.
Okay, you don't have enough experience in blank. Open up to more perspective. That's like a poem or something. Like, I have to think about that. One must open to perspective. check, please, now? Yeah? Okay, you guys are like using Jedi mind tricks on me. This is lovely. From like, you liar, to like, there is no problem. So what we're asking in these situations is to have the client take a giant leap of faith. Most people, as I realize, think it's a one-to-one game, right? So I'm going to show you what it looks like. So they raise an objection, and you say, paper. And what you didn't realize is there's 3 more people, or 2 more people, 5 more people in this equation trying to get the same job. So even if you come up with the right answer, you're not alone. I don't mean that in a positive way. So now you have to win the argument against a company, an entity much bigger than you, and there's, right now, not a lot of companies smaller than you, but I've been doing business for 20 years. We're always the middle player, the medium guys. And so there are guys like you, guys and gals like you, a 1-person operation, 2-person working out of your loft, and they're always going to win the argument of, I'm cheaper. William's ready to go. He's ready. So if I compete on price, I'm doomed. So we're in the middle, and the middle is a hard place to win. If you're the biggest, baddest company on earth, you have that to your advantage. You're the most stable, consistent, like your Landor and Associates when it comes to identity design. You guys know Landor and Associates, right? No affiliation, no free plugging here. But if you go up and do identity design against them, you'd lose, right? You'd think, but we've beaten them before, all right? So there's a way. So now the argument becomes much more difficult because it's not just you and the client saying, liar, you're a liar, he's a liar, she's a liar, they're all liars, so blank you. Where's the check, right? So now what we have to do, we have to advance the game. Okay, so now I didn't like the way a rock looks as an icon, so I chose hammer. You know, it's the same game. Hammer is rock, right? It's like hammer, all right, you guys get it? So the hammer represents the company much larger than you. They've got way more experience. They've got 300 employees. They've got global offices. They have teams of researchers. They'll out-research you, outright you. They have MBAs, PhDs, and other acronyms you don't know about. Okay, so let's figure this thing out. Now, we've had the amazing pro group, and thank you very much, pro group, right? The pro arguers, you know, they're amazing. Skills unmatched. So let's just say this side of the room, you're going to assume the role of the larger, more experienced, because I know that there are more experienced guys in this room. And shadow ladies, you guys on that side of the divide, you guys will be the smaller players, the 1 or 2 operation. Maybe you're overseas, you're the offshore team. All right?
Is the team a design company?
A design company. It's a 3-way competitive bid, right? The pros, the best arguers in this room, versus actually the real pros, a much bigger company, the global footprint, 5 offices around the world, 300, 400, 500 employees. They're going to slaughter you guys with experience, expertise. They're better at building tools. They're better at everything than you guys, all right? And then you guys on this side are the smaller, more nimble, and we'll take the divide right here, like left of Eddie, boom, my left, right? Camera right, my left. You guys are all the smaller players. So what I want you to do is to work in little groups and come up with what your response would be to beat these guys in the middle, right? You guys understand how to play this game? Okay, everybody cool? So I'm not gonna ask for your responses just yet, okay? We're gonna hold on to that. So I wanted to make you aware of the process. There you are in the middle with your bob, kind of your 80s haircut. And the smaller players, much more nimble, can do things at incredible prices. And I want to tell you something. We have, for the past 20 years, made commercials, music videos, and promos for network TV shows, things like that. And it's a little scary now because the world's getting a lot smaller. So talent is very available, like on Behance. I can find people in Argentina, in Germany, Brazilian, whatever. I can find somebody. And they do incredible work. The cost of living is much lower, and there are no opportunities in a lot of these countries, especially Eastern Europe. And so you look at the median income at some of these countries, not even getting to Asia where it's like 10 cents on the dollar, you're not going to win that war, okay? And the big companies will smash you like the rock that they are. The big company, the rock, the hammer, wins all those arguments except for one. Which one do they lose in? Price. Maybe they win all of them. Okay, so here's probably how it would sound. You're too expensive. Right, we are. We're worth every penny. You want the risky choice? Hire option B and C. You don't have enough experience. Yes, we do. We have 500 people. Tell me who's bigger than us. We've worked with 1,000 clients, Fortune 500. We've done gazillion billion dollars in billings. What do you mean we don't have enough experience? They can be Eddie. That's really Eddie's role, actually. Liar, right? And you don't know enough about blah. Well, I have 35 researchers on staff. We have the USC lab ready to go for us. What are you talking about? Like, think about IDEO going up against those guys, the monsters in the room, right? They will destroy you. That's usually their response. And that's hard to beat. Now, you've not been in business for very long, some of you not at all, so you don't know what the responses are. I do, because we go up against the monsters all the time. I wish one day we are the monsters, but we haven't been the monsters for 20 years, so I'm not holding my breath on that one. Okay? And anytime you reduce scope, you actually give in to the price, you cannot go as low as a low-cost bidder. You just can't. So just think about this, right? So it looks something like this, okay? So you say paper, and scissor will come and get you, right? I don't know what so just remember that the whole client objection sales cycle, and we're talking about sales, not project management. Think of it as a game of rock, paper, scissor. You can beat one, but you can't beat all. So what are you going to do about it? So here it is. I'm going to play it for you. It looks something like this. So if you say you're worth it, the bigger company will claim they're better known and more established, so you'll lose that argument, right? That's what I just said. And if you say we'll reduce the price, the smaller company always wins because sometimes to reduce the price, you have to change the scope, meaning, well, we'll give you 2 versions and not 5. We'll do 1 week of exploration, not 2. And so they're now thinking they're getting less for less money. So the outcome is the same. So you lose again. So you're kind of caught in this horrible place. Anyways, it's this kind of delicate balancing act. You're balancing on a chair, on top of a table, on top of another table, on top of a ledge where one wrong move, the wind changes, you die. It's kind of a sucky place to be. That's a technical term. So when clients raise an objection, it's like red meat to a dog, especially for alpha males like yourselves and alpha female, okay? And what you want to do is, the problem is inside your head, what they're doing is they're trying to invalidate you and you feel invalidated. So it's kind of a stab at your own ego. And you can tell by Eddie's response, we're eager to prove them wrong. So what we do is we dive in. You guys following me so far? Okay, so it's like this. But you're the bull and you're not the bullfighter. Nice butt? Yeah. Okay. So when you charge ahead like this, you play a game and the rules were designed to work against you because you're not the big bad dog. The big bad dog, most of the times, will win because they're willing to pay more. Because why? Because it's less risky. It's less risky. And what you don't realize is somebody that hires you on the other side, they're usually not the owner. They make the wrong decision. What happens to them? They get fired. That's the reality of it. So when you guys talk about joking about design and I want this font and F you and this and that, somebody is going to have to find a new job. I know you don't think about that because you're not there yet, because you're still artists. That's what you want to do, okay? So here's the red versus blue. Which one is better, red or blue? If I say red is better, what are you going to say? What is your response? Your response has been very consistent, Eddie. Your response is? Go ahead and say it. Why are you getting all like shy on me? Who are you? What happened? Bring Eddie back. Red. What are you going to say, Eddie? Just play along, dude.
Blue.
Right, and we just dig in. Okay, you know what happens? There's like 2 trains riding on a track. And since you don't have the upper hand financially, it'll look like that. Except for that'll just be you and they'll walk away from this, right? They go, screw you, I don't need the business. I like top ramen, okay? So that's the problem. And the reason why is that people strive for consistency in their commitments. Okay? They want to follow pre-existing attitudes, values, and actions. So when they say red and you say blue, what happens to me? I want to be consistent with what I said because I don't want to seem like a fool. Right? Sometimes you guys misspeak in your class or with friends, and rather than say, I goofed, you just keep like digging into that stupid position, even though you know you're wrong. If you have a girlfriend or boyfriend, you know you do this all the time. Even when you're wrong, you're like, no, that's the way the world works, and you find some cockamamie reason to explain it. Right? So just remember that people strive to be consistent, and it's one of the principles of persuasion, and I'll talk about that a little bit. So what you have to do, because it sucks to be on that balancing act, is you have to just remember, go against your instinct and don't charge in. Okay? And I'm going to share a concept with you that I think will help you out a lot. And it looks something like this. Now, this is judo or jujitsu. It's a game of leverage. And not that I'm some expert on martial arts, not at all, but I do enjoy watching it, is that karate is like a hard martial arts, meaning it's about power and just breaking things, right? When you watch the taekwondo, the karate, those martial arts, it's about breaking boards, bricks, heads, anything. It's about power. And that's the approach you generally take. Jiu-jitsu, on the other hand, is a totally different thing. And judo is you use leverage. You use the other person's momentum against them. They charge in, and what do? What we have to do is we embrace them, and you pivot, and you throw them to the side. So you exert very little power, and it can be done by anybody. Does that make sense, you guys? So you're using a strength disadvantage, and you're turning it into a positive. You're just waiting. It's like a countering thing. You wait and you pivot, and it's really cool. All right? So what you have to do is you have to embrace and pivot. So what I want to do now is I want to play a movie for you. Audio's hooked up, yeah? I hope so. Okay. I want to play a movie for you to kind of illustrate this point about red versus blue. And you guys know this movie? Thank You for Smoking? Yeah? No? Okay, some of you. I love this movie. And I love one scene in particular, and it's set up between Aaron Eckhart and his son, I believe his son. So his name is Nick, right? And Joey talks to him, so what happens when you're wrong? And Nick says, no, Joey, I'm never wrong. And I don't want to act this out for you, so I'll just play the movie for you. Or you want to see me act it out? Okay, so you guys ready for this? Oh, whoa, on top of it, Art Center, go. Here we go.
So what happens when you're wrong?
Oh, Joey, I'm never wrong.
But you can't always be right.
Well, if it's your job to be right, then you're never wrong.
But what if you are wrong?
Okay, let's say that you're defending chocolate, and I'm defending vanilla. Now, if I were to say to you, vanilla is the best flavor ice cream, you'd say...
No, chocolate is.
Exactly. But you can't win that argument. So, I'll ask you. So you think chocolate is the end-all and be-all of ice cream, do you?
It's the best ice cream. I wouldn't order any of it.
Oh, so it's all chocolate for you, is it?
Yes, chocolate is all I need.
Well, I need more than chocolate. And for that matter, I need more than vanilla. I believe that we need freedom and choice when it comes to our ice cream, and that, Joy Naylor, that is the definition of liberty.
But that's not what we're talking about.
Ah, but that's what I'm talking about.
But you didn't prove that vanilla's the best.
I didn't have to. I proved that you're wrong, and if you're wrong, I'm right.
But you still didn't convince me.
It's that I'm not after you. I'm after them.
So what did you learn by watching that clip, you guys? Anything? Because when I saw that, it was like, it burned a hole through my mind and my soul. You don't need to prove you're right if you can just find the hole in the other person's logic. That's what the Asian girl said. Yeah, that's what I wrote. Did I hear that? It's like, that's what I said. All right, Nick, lay it on. Drop us some knowledge bombs. Boom.
I was going to say, to win the argument, you have to nullify the argument. And so basically, but you still have to resolve it.
Yeah.
Like, just prove that the argument is irrelevant anyway.
Right. Great. Anybody else?
It seems sort of like in the beginning he didn't just counter it right away, he just sat and listened. He's like, oh, so tell me how you feel. He sort of empathized.
He did it more. He did more. He did more than that. What's your name? Ben? Ben's onto something, guys. What do?
You kind of like set him up to fail. Like he,
How?
Well, he kind of knew where the argument was going before the other person knew where it was going. So he kind of like baited him, if you will.
So here's what he did. I'll just replay the scene for you, okay? He says, so you like chocolate, right? And he says, yes. So you're saying it's all chocolate for you. He goes, and then he says it's the best thing ever. He actually made the person dig in by just affirming what he said, and he dug in deep now. So he was embracing it 100%. It wasn't setting him up for failure in that first part. It looks like it, but he just affirmed and validated what the other person thought, so that when he pivoted, it would drive the point home. Okay, so when somebody says to you, you're too expensive, you don't have enough experience, you don't know whatever, you don't know enough about digital broccoli websites, the thing that I found to work best for me is I just own it. You're right. We are too expensive. We don't have enough experience. The trick is, how do you pivot out of that? Okay? Now, Nick has already kind of advanced Jedi Knight, so he may already have some of those answers. Typically, when I do this, I've only done it once, so typically it's 100%. People don't have these answers, and they just fight, like Eddie, like Austin, and Austin's friends. They just fight. So when you fight, it's going to be like that train coming at each other, okay? So here's what we're going to do. I'm not going to give you 10 minutes to do this, but flip the sheet over, the blue sheet. Now, what we want to do is to not argue anymore. We don't want the conversation to be about value, experience, or domain expertise, something that Aaron alluded to before. I need to change the conversation. But without acknowledging what the clients have said first, their objection, you're just changing the subject, and you're slippery, you're distrustful. You have to acknowledge it first, because otherwise they're saying, and they're smart people, the reason why they hire you is because they're smarter than you in business. And you're not going to outsmart them, maybe. So you guys, let's do 3 to 4 minutes. If they're the same objections, 1, 2, and 3, now we're going to embrace it by acknowledging it, by making them dig into their position, validating them, and now we have to spin them to the side and throw them. That's the hard part. You guys start to understand now the game that's being played in terms of how you're supposed to counter these objections, to not to head them straight on, but also to be aware that there are other people in the game and you're not alone. Yeah? So maybe the next time you have a negotiation with the client and these objections will come up. They come up all the time. All right? And I'm going to share some stuff with you guys in a little bit about how I do it. Okay? Has it been helpful so far? All right. Okay, great. And you can tell me if it's not. All right, so here's a book that I said you really do need to read. I have a short attention span, too much work to do. I would not recommend a book to you unless I really thought, like, wow, this is a game changer, and this is one of those books. It's the Win Without Pitching Manifesto. Blair writes the book, and he writes it like the 10 Commandments, except for their 12 commandments. He says, thou shalt not, like that emphatically, he writes like that. So when he says that when an opportunity first comes, you must do your best to kill the opportunity, because it puts you in a position of power and you have leverage. Does that make sense? All right? And as artists, as creative types, our tendency is to avoid areas of potential objection. What you want to do is do the opposite. You want to raise the objection first and lay them on the table for the client to address. Does that make sense? So when they say, and you need to know this, the more experience you have, and I'm going to give you 20 years of experience, so when you walk out the door and you have your first client, you're 20 years smarter than you would have been. All right? So when you go out, I want you to know already you're too expensive, you don't have enough experience, and you don't know enough about blah. So here's how Blair couches the argument, because it's going to come up. Now the problem is, if the client says it first, and I use different strategies, so it doesn't always work like this cookie cutter thing. If the client says it first, you're too expensive, you're going to have to explain yourself. You're going to have to be defensive. And it's not a power position. The power position is to say, in this $1 million company that hypothetically you're charging $80 an hour for, you could say to them, I'm not sure a company of your size can afford us. You brought it up first. Because they're already thinking that. They're thinking you're too expensive anyways. I'm not sure. So now they have to tell you why they think they can afford you. So they're proving themselves to you. Changes the entire client dynamic. It's an advanced level maneuver. You really have to believe in that to be able to say that. So it's a concept called retreat and follow. Okay? What you do is you try to kill the opportunity and you back up. And if they're interested, they'll follow. It's like pulling in a fish. You know, you cast the line out, you let it come in, you pull in a little bit, and then before you know it, they strike. All right? And there's another philosophy or an idea behind this that says, if I whisper, you have to lean in to hear me. If you shout, you push people away. Selling, convincing, all that kind of stuff, that's shouting. You will push people away. And I mentioned before, there's this book. It's called Influence, and it's the psychology of persuasion. It's written by Robert Cialdini. Okay, very smart guy. 6 principles. I'm going to share them with you. Okay, and he makes you aware of this because you can use these for evil or you can use them for good. At least you won't be victims to it. And when I tell you some of the principles, you're like, dude, I fell for that trick too. All right, so here it goes. So reciprocity, consistency, social proof, authority, liking, and scarcity. Hopefully I spelled all those correctly. You guys got that? Reciprocity, we want to reciprocate, do for you, do for me, we help each other out. Quid pro quo, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. We want to even the scale. Consistency, remember, we need to be consistent to ourselves. So you make somebody claim something and you ask them again, they're going to dig in deeper and deeper. So you know that, so if you force somebody to dig in, that doesn't work for you, now you will never win that argument because they won't back down. Social proof, when others validate what you say and do, we're more likely to trust you. That's about building up your reputation. Authority, if I am the expert, and that's why the expert wins in most cases, I trust you, so you need to be the expert in this situation. Liking, people will just hire you because they like you. That's what Austin's going to bank on because his arguments were not very convincing. He's really relying on principle 5, right? And scarcity, you guys know scarcity? We want what is not available. This is the retreat and follow idea. We're not available. We're limited edition, right? If you've been looking at something and considering purchasing, what's the trigger that gets you to buy? Sale ends tomorrow, 24 hours, last warning. Scarcity triggers us. It's like we can't help ourselves. I can't. And human society, culture, we can't fight it. These are things that are about how we evolved as human beings. So there's a handbag. I like bags. And that's my weakness. I want to buy a bag. I don't want that bag. But all of a sudden that bag goes on sale and I know it's either going to be sold out through previous experience or I know the sale's going to end. I have to do everything I know. It's like, no, it's a trick. It's a trick. Fight it. Don't buy that bag. That's why your girlfriend or wife has so many shoes. Okay? Now, if you'll see this up here, 5 of the 6 principles of influence, if you learn how to embrace and pivot, are relevant to what we're doing. Okay? I'm going to talk you through that a little bit. The room got really quiet. I'm a little scared. So you are too expensive. You're not the expert. You don't have enough resources. You don't have enough experience. These are all objections that I hear all the time. All right? So here's a script that I wrote. So it goes something like this. We are expensive, but there's a good reason. Graphic designers are good at making beautiful things. Usually I'm in the space that I'm working in, I compete against a lot of graphic design firms, right? And so I know, I used to be one. They are pretty makers. They'll design a nice looking logo, print it out on exquisite paper stock, even use a foil stamp or some special printing technique. But what they do won't fundamentally move the needle. They won't help you get one new client. What I do is different, and I'll go into that. So I fully embrace it, and I try to find, what did we try to find? Who said it before? Simona, you said what? What did you say? We try to find a hole in their logic. So they're saying to me, you're too expensive, and I'm going to defeat that by not talking about money at all. I don't even deal with value. I just say, do you guys want that? Do you really want that? That's up to you now. And I'm an authority because I'm a graphic designer myself. Now, many of you guys are going to gristle. It's like, what are you calling us? Are you really saying graphic designers are pretty makers? Yes, I am. When I'm competing against you, I'll say it all day and night. And chances are you will lose. When I started to learn this and practice this, and I'm not saying I'm an expert long time, really in the space that I'm working in, I have about 3 or 4 months of expertise. I've won 100% of the jobs. And we are not the incumbent. We are not the big company. We have no domain expertise, and yet we're still able to win. How is that possible? Because if you believe it to be about the work or a pretty smile, which I don't have one, how can you win? So I want you to think about that for a little bit. So you're not the expert in the subject matter. This one's going to sound a lot like Nick's. The experts are the least risky option, right? We know that. I'm going to validate and I'm going to affirm it. They're good at doing what they do. In fact, they've done it for everyone else, including your competitors. If you want undifferentiated work dictated by a cookie-cutter process, we're not for you. Retreat. I'm retreating right now. But I'm just affirming and validating what you already think. Now, there's two things I've done here in both of these counters to my responses in the embrace and pivot. I embrace what they say, and I paint that picture of what they're thinking is not very good. I used to be that. Does anybody want to be a used to be? Do you desire old? And the other thing I've done is I've painted the guys much like Nick, and I have a slide for it. It's a paint by numbers thing. Who wants that? And then I also say, well, all of your competitors are going to get the exact same expert solution. Most people hate working with experts when it's said like that. Experts tell you what to do. They don't listen. You don't have enough resources. Believe it or not, I've had this argument come up in a real client situation, a gigantic job, over $500,000. And the client said, you don't have enough resources. What's your hardware look like? How many render nodes? What rendering software do you use? Who's your lead technical director and your CG team? Who are your freelancers? Who are your staff? I already knew that the other company was way bigger than us. They have 4 TDs, technical directors. We have 0. How am I going to win that? So here would be my response. I didn't say this. I said something else, and we still got the job, okay? You guys know who Terry Richardson is? He's one of the top fashion photographers working. And he often shoots with a disposable Instamatic camera. So you come to Terry and you want what Terry does, yet you're going to question his process, his equipment. Would you like to tell him how to hold the camera and what lens to use? Does that logic work for you? If it does, go for it. What you care about is what I do. Look at the work we've done. And don't dictate process to me. And I tell him a story. I tell him the last client that dictated process, the job went over budget and it wasn't what they wanted. So I've made a pact with myself. I'm never going to do that again. I'd rather turn the job down, knowing that you're not going to get what you want and you're going to spend more money. All right, last one. You don't have enough experience. This one I haven't used in the exact same way, but this is the same idea. So I said, let's be honest. Somebody had said this before. We're really good learners. We're great at researching. But then I say, but let's just be realistic about this. You will forget more than what I can learn. You're the experts. All right? So the process that we use helps us to transfer the organizational knowledge that you have to us so that we can translate that into something your customers understand and value. I'm not trying to outgun you because I'll lose. So I pay respect and I tell you it doesn't matter. All right? So that's how I do it. So embracing. What I want to do, and you've said it, I'll say this again, you paint a very clear picture of what it would be like to work with someone else, and you reaffirm the client's beliefs. And do this in a genuine fashion, all right? And then the pivot, that's the hardest part. So now that they feel like they've been heard, they've been validated, pivot and make sure that the other option is now viewed as less desirable. And then you have to point out why you're different or better. Now you guys will have a difficult time with this because you actually have no experience. So when you have a little bit of experience, you can use that in your storytelling, okay? So I told you before, this is the one I use. This is the thing that I say, I'm different, okay? And this is pretty much my script. I help businesses grow and be more innovative by helping them understand their customers. I help them talk to their customers in a genuine and relatable way. Now, I can't guarantee you success, but I'll give you the best shot at winning. That's all I can do. Okay? And so if you don't need help in this way, save your money, hire the other guys. And we'll just let you know. We'll be here in 6 months when you need help because things didn't work out. I retreat. I know it's cocky. Simona was like, you cocky bastard. I am. I'm confident. I believe in what we do. And when I do what we do, clients are thrilled. And I'll share some stories with you in a sec if you want to know. All right, so here it is. So here's some books for you guys. This is my hit list. So if you want to learn about branding, about presentations, about motivations, these are some of the best books that you can read. Thank you guys for listening, for hopefully participating with me and being good sports, especially you guys up front. Nick destroyed me. I was freaking Nick. Anyways, thank you guys, and I will tell you a story right after this, but I want this part off tape, so thank you very much. All right, thank you.